Hi, I'm some random guy you've never heard of telling you why your favorite video game sucks. Actually, no, not really. Hey guys, it's me, Goosebiz. How you doing? Today's a queue. It's a very rare one. I know. Queues are pretty much dead nowadays. If you don't know what I'm talking about, essentially queues are when I just am way too lazy to edit an actual video and I give you something to, well, digest while I do make a video or am inspired to make a video. I just sort of spit this out when I don't have any sort of script ready or anything like that, and I talk about topics that really aren't suitable for this channel or anything that I think you think would be interesting. That's a lot of things right there, holy crap. And then at the end of it, I will be taking questions and answering them. Now, there was a previous queue that I recorded that unfortunately I was not able to give you because, hey, I just thought that it wasn't appropriate to upload because it was kind of a call out video and I'm not that kind of guy, honestly. But if the person I'm talking about ever seems to piss me off later on in my life, then I will be releasing that queue. But for now, I'll be using the questions that I answered in that queue, the unreleased one, and be using them for this video. But today's topic is not outdated. Today I'll be talking about World of Warcraft, specifically World of Warcraft Classic, and of course Blizzard's relationship with their community as well as the people who are totally against WoW retail. Because honestly, I think both of them are fantastic games. I just think one of them is very flavorless, and while the other one is very clunky, I still prefer the one with soul than the one without it. But I'll talk about that in a bit. Jesus Christ, where do I start, honestly? I've been playing World of Warcraft for like 2 days and 17 hours. So what is that, like 50 or 60 hours? I'm not good at math. But anyways, I've been playing it for a very long time. It's, as one of my Twitch commenters has stated, it has grabbed me by the balls and I have no way of escaping. I love the game. I mean, I really do. I've been playing since I was a kid. And the fact that it came out into a more familiar version that I remember playing a long time ago, really, it tickles my balls. I don't know how else to state it, but yeah, I'm loving it. Yes, it is very difficult to be playing as a priest who is speccing as a healer, but hey, what are you gonna do? I'm an idiot. I should be Shadow Priest, but I don't care. I still want to heal. I don't want to respec. Do you know how much it costs to respec? Fuck that. I'm not doing that. Nevertheless, I'm having a lot of fun. Oh my god, by the way, there's a Peggle add-on, and that has been saving my ass from boredom of like flying back and forth between the lands and like traveling back to my body. In so many instances have I been saved from boredom. Oh my god, you should get that Peggle add-on. It is fantastic. But enough about that. Let's talk about the fact that some people have this weird perception of like World of Warcraft BFA, that is retail, being really bad. And I personally haven't played the latest patches in like what, 4 months now, but I gotta say, returning back to World of Warcraft Classic and then going back to retail, man, I fucking love retail. I really do, and it's kind of weird that so many people would dismiss the great changes that happened in retail. Now granted, before you start disliking this video and me just saying that retail is a good game, please allow me to explain a few things. You're right, retail doesn't have any sort of soul or flavor or even character identity anymore. The fact of the matter is they have removed tier sets and now everybody looks the fucking same, and there's no reason why anybody should be like even leveling anymore, because you're just gonna go through dungeons that you've already gone through and nobody's gonna talk to you. You're not gonna socialize with anyone. The fact that it's called an MMO is kind of weird because now it feels like a single player multiplayer game, if that makes any sense. Does anybody feel that way? But legit, that's how I feel. I feel very lonely playing that game. And to be honest, I still really like playing alone, but there are many encounters in World of Warcraft Classic alone that I have never had in WoW retail. Small little encounters like finding an alliance just in the middle of the beach, right, doing their quest, and then suddenly seeing a bunch of hunters like attacking them and then like spouting out these weird offensive things to them, calling them bald, and I don't get it, but sure. Or like that one time where I had to get naked with my guild just so we can run dead mines because we're in the horde, so we had to swim all the way up to Westfall and get to dead mines, but we were scared of losing our armor, so we had to be naked and not get attacked by water spirits as well as flagged alliance. There have been some instances where I just ran dungeons with random groups of people and we talked so much more than I've ever talked in retail. I always say this every time I'm on stream and I'm playing World of Warcraft, Classic that is, but I have had maybe over 100 dungeon runs in retail alone within like the past year or two, and not once do I remember an actual decent conversation with people. Maybe twice do I remember having a conversation, but talking to people, that's never been a thing. And I understand most people don't really care for it, right? Most World of Warcraft players love it. They love talking. They love, actually having adventures, interacting with people, doing weird stuff or doing fun shit. Like, I remember the first night I was playing Classic. This is the night that people made their characters, right? The first night I went fishing in Orgrimmar, and I just I was talking to like 5 other people who were on the same dock as myself, and we were just like talking about dumb shit like, oh look, isn't it really cool? We were talking about like memes from 2005 or 2008 or some of the more classic videos that we used to watch, like that one guy who's like, that's a fucking minus DKP, and and it's like, we're talking about memes and all that. And that was from night 1. And that was the most I ever talked to people on World of Warcraft. And again, I know some other people don't care about it, right? They don't want to talk. It's antisocial of them, but that's fine. That's who they are. They don't want to talk to other people. And sometimes I would rather other people don't talk at all. You go to trade chat, and well, this is 2019, and unfortunately there's going to be some talk about political stuff, and I've seen that quite a bit in my server. But otherwise than that, I really enjoy the social aspect of it all. However, I cannot ignore the fact that retail improved so much of World of Warcraft that it is insane. I would never have thought about how amazing the changes they've made unless I've gone back to Classic and thought, man, I kind of like the fact that, we teleported to dungeons and we were able to do that, which, by the way, I don't know, I guess I remembered it wrong, but meeting stones don't do the summoning in vanilla. That was in BC. I didn't know that. I thought it was in vanilla, but it's not. You got me, Blizzard. You're right. I don't like that. That's the one thing about World of Warcraft Classic that I don't like. It's not actually that fun to travel all the way to the dungeon that you're supposed to meet your group with and like spend about an hour waiting for your fucking group to get over there. You're right. That part is it's not the most fun thing in the world, but getting there in the first place is pretty fun. But aside from that, I do like the theatrics that World of Warcraft has changed. I go back to World of Warcraft retail, and I notice how much prettier it looks. It looks like a fantastic game. And granted, Classic aged like fine wine. It really did age pretty well. And I understand we all have wide screens. We all have high resolutions on our monitors now. We can all run it smoothly at 60 frames per second. I understand that things have changed from back then when I had a really shitty computer and a CRT monitor, and like the color was all fucked up and everything. I understand things have changed. I can't play it as I used to play it before. That experience is lost to me. But the new game just looks so much better, and the abilities that these characters have with each class, like, they feel so much more satisfying. I feel like I'm actively doing something. I feel like I'm actually punching hard, and the animations that have been changed are magnificent to watch. Everything is so much more of a spectacle than it used to be, and that's the one thing that I do love. And I also really love PvP in retail. I really do. And I understand that we haven't had the chance to play PvP in Classic, and I don't remember much of PvP. Only around Burning Crusade was I doing PvP stuff in Classic, or rather back in, well, BC rather. But I do really like PvP more in retail, and I don't think my mind will change, even if when we get to phase 2 of Classic and we do have PvP and we get honor rewards and all that stuff, I think I'll still prefer retail over what we have now, because of the fact that it's so simple and it's much lovelier to play. I love healing as a monk more than I love healing as a priest or as a shaman or as a druid, even though I haven't done much of either or. I have done priest a little bit, or rather for the majority I've done priest healing because I love support in MMOs, and I've also done a little bit of shaman healing, and they don't really compare. They don't hold a candle to early level monk healing. You know, that's just me talking about early level stuff. And let's face it, as much as we love that slow grind all the way to 60, we can't deny that, yes, it is a very slow burn to 60. And sometimes it's not the most satisfying thing in the world to walk all the way from one side of Ashvale and going all the way back to the Barrens on foot because you can't afford a flight back to the Barrens Crossroads, and handing in your quest only to get another quest that tells you to go back to Ashvale and find 20 pages of some bullshit and form the chapters, and oh god, it's not the greatest thing in the world. I mean, seriously, why else would I get a Peggle add-on? Like, it's because I want to pass the time while I'm walking all the way to another part of the world. Every minute of me playing WoW Classic is very valuable, because one moment I'm questing some random ass thing, and the next a mob from one of the quest creatures that I need to kill has a green item that he dropped, and that is the first green item that I've ever had. And while it doesn't have the greatest stats, it's something that I haven't found in like 3 hours. Whereas if you were to play in retail, the first 10 minutes you get a green item. Like, it's one of the few quests you get. As any class or any race you play as, you will get a green or even a blue by the time you're level 15 or 20. It's really common, but I have yet to even find blues in the mid-20s, and these are just hours and hours of me playing, so it is so precious for me to find something like that, to experience the joy of actually getting something accomplished in that game. Whereas in retail, I go by these so fast that there is no sense of accomplishment. However, the thing that I love about retail, that I'm sure many of you will hate me for and dismiss my entire argument for, is, well, everything else. There are so many minigames. Dark Moon Fair happens literally every single month, and I can visit Dark Moon Fair and play those dumb little minigames every month and try to get myself that one mount that I've been trying to get for like a month or so. There are pet battles, and pet battles I know are so controversial, but I love doing pet battles because I like Pokemon. I like catching them all. I like doing those little side quests that I get to do, fighting against those pet masters out there in the world. And yes, because that there are so many expansions out there of World of Warcraft retail, there's so much of the world to explore, and things like pet battles and pet masters allow me to explore these otherwise unexplored areas to the fullest. Granted, I hate the fact that Pandaria and Azeroth and pretty much everywhere else share the same level gap as anywhere else. Like, I don't have to go to Pandaria to level myself up to 90. But there is that incentive of exploration and the immediate feedback you get from exploring through achievements, pet battles, finding other events, fighting off different rares, just playing different dungeons, doing the archaeology quests, trying to max out your profession, which is something that's way easier to do thanks to flying mounts. Even though I usually hate flying mounts, I have to admit it helps me explore the world that I otherwise would find a chore. I mean, I have a Peggle add-on for a reason, seriously. Although I will say though, as much as I really love the PvP in retail as opposed to what we have in Classic, I think the toxicity is so abysmal that it is almost not worth being in PvP. Like, either people don't talk at all and you win, or everybody talks mad shit and you lose, or maybe sometimes you get a comeback. But I don't know. I don't know if that's even worth mentioning, because I feel like the retail toxicity is just as bad to Classic's toxicity, but you don't see it in game, you just see it outside. Like with the recent DDoS attacks that happened over the weekend, that was very much a show of how bad the community in World of Warcraft really is. Like, we are all really friendly when it comes to in-game stuff and when you meet each other and, you know, and your understanding and whatever, but when it comes to like sheer hate for Blizzard, the toxicity is always going to be there. It's like, it's always just going to be really, really bad, whether you're in PvP or outside of the game. It's kind of fucky either way, but I just thought that was worth mentioning. What is more worth mentioning, however, is the raids and the dungeons, the evolution of those things. And while the older ones back in Classic are much longer and a bit more sprawled out, they're definitely more resembling of like a classic D&D dungeon, something that you would expect from an MMO or an RPG. They were really nothing more than just trash mobs after trash mobs with some interesting lore, I will admit. With the newer ones, however, there's more detail put into it. Now, the dungeon design has withered. It really has. I'm not going to defend the dungeon design. Most of them are just like a corridor and one left turn. Ooh, interesting. That is how Retail's current dungeon design is. But with the raid design, I can't deny that those are fantastic and are wonderful. And even with dungeons, certain bosses have very interesting mechanics that you have to always remember or you have to keep in mind. Of course, many of these designs are totally killed by the idea of LFR and the fact that many of these raid bosses are dumbed down and easier because of LFR. But I still believe that if you were to gather the right people, you can have a great time with these raids and dungeons, of course. But that again just boils down to what I was saying. It's because of LFG and LFR that is looking for group and looking for raid. It's because of those that you have these fantastic ideas that ultimately dwindle away and are just seemingly nothing. Like there's no real reason why you should be excited for these, because in the end, you're not sharing these experiences with anybody. You're sharing them with robots, essentially. People who are just doing the motions for their raid gear or for their tier sets or for the certain things that they're grinding out. Maybe they're trying to get a new pet or whatever. But in Classic, you don't really see that. You communicate with people. Like the very instant you want to go to a dungeon or to a raid, you have to ask people, be it your guild or just random people on the streets of the cities. And I think that's the one part that I think is irreplaceable with Classic. You can't replicate that. You really can't, even if they just got rid of LFG and LFR. Some people really love that, and I don't blame them. It's very easy, and if you just want a couple hours to just play WoW without having to worry about looking for a group, or if you just want to spend 30 minutes playing WoW, all you got to do is just queue up and there you go. You've just spent 30 minutes there, and now you can hop off and go to work, or maybe you could go to bed early because you've done everything that you needed to do. It's a simpler, easier, cleaner process, but what's the fun in that? I mean, really, I get it, it's faster and you can just do that, sure, but I really feel like that's no different than playing a cookie clicker game on your phone. You play it for a few minutes, you're tired, and go to bed or you go to work or whatever. It's just that. It's just brain candy, but it's no substance whatsoever. Now, I'm not going to say that World of Warcraft Classic is healthy food. I have compared it to junk food, which I think is a more apt comparison. It's not healthy for you, sure, but it is very filling, and it's a good meal. Really, it is. It takes some time to digest, and what comes out isn't as pretty as what comes in, but hey, it's still worth it. But let's honestly face it, really, you're never gonna have that actual 100% classic experience that you used to have. It might bum you out, but people know what they're doing now. If you want the true experience where nobody knows what they're doing and they have no idea how to play the game, then I think that's part of Classic's charm, but you're never gonna get that. You're just playing an older build of a game that you slightly remember how to play and often have to Google what to do sometimes, and finding out that the meeting stone isn't actually a summoning stone. But you could argue the same thing about Retail, because, well, as much as you'd like to have that old classic experience in Retail by leveling up from level 1 to level 120, you know that's not really the case. You're gonna go through 1 to 120 in a breeze, and all the way it's gonna be kind of empty because nobody's traveling along with you. Of course, if you have friends, it'll be much more enjoyable and much more digestible, but the fact of the matter is there's so much content in Retail now that it's hard to swallow all of it. You have all these zones that you can explore, but honestly, you can spend all your time in one zone and you don't have to ever visit the others ever. And even though that there are other things that you can do, there's no real push to let you explore. It's just filler now. It's just kind of a skin to level up in. You have these quests that are essentially the same, and most of them are pretty creative when you are in the higher levels. But as it stands now, when you're level 60, you can either go to the Blasted Lands or you can stay in Azeroth, and either experience is just as valid, honestly. It's just a preference of what do you want to see. Do you want to see a weird alien world that you've never seen before? Or do you want to visit a bunch of volcanoes or deserts or ancient palaces that you haven't seen either? Either way, pick your poison quick and pick it wisely, because chances are you're only going to see just a fraction of that content and never actually expose yourself to the greatness that is this entire world that Blizzard has crafted you. But all that being said, with all the heartache and all the headaches that I have to deal with Classic and retail, I would still prefer playing Classic now. And yes, I understand, oh god, those nostalgia glasses on me, the rose tinted glasses, those are still there. And I am definitely infatuated by the idea of reliving my childhood. Sure, of course. And retail is always going to be there with its magnificent raids and dungeons, late levels, and the new worlds and the new races, the new classes, and the new balancing and all that stuff, and the new PvP arenas that may or may not be that great, but it's still kind of better than having Alteric Valley. Don't kill me for saying that. I'm just saying it's a little unbalanced. Yeah. But I would still rather play there than playing on retail, because it's just not the same. It really isn't. It's crazy to think how different both of these games are. They really are. And I know some of you are going to be like, hey, nobody's saying that retail sucks. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, how about you shut up? You know that there are people out there that really hate retail. And I can see it by the fact that when I came back to retail after I was playing Classic just one late night, nobody was really playing that game. I was looking for PvP groups or battlegrounds at high levels, and nobody was looking for games at all. Like, I had to wait maybe 30 minutes or up to like almost an hour to find one PvP match. And it was a long time before I could find anybody. It's indicative of what has happened and how Blizzard has been treating their audience. And yes, I understand. They want to streamline it. They want to make everything simpler. But doing stuff like removing raid tiers and having Azerite armor so that everyone looks uniformly the same, it's insulting. You are losing identity. There's something that people want out of these MMOs, and that's to look cool, to have fun, and to have experiences. Yet if you're preventing people from having that kind of experience, that is to look good or to have the adventure that they want, then you're doing a disservice to your people. Again, I love retail. It is a great single player MMO. But if I really wanted to play a game where I could interact with people and see other people have cool adventures and be a part of a community, then I will always play Classic. Even if it is a jankier game that's not as balanced or way more grindy or really doesn't give me the satisfaction in combat that I probably would in retail version. Sure, I am playing a priest, healer spec, and it's my fault. I know, I'm stubborn, but I still would rather suffer through that than to just play retail. And I guess it's maybe because of nostalgia. My rose tinted glasses have yet to fade. But really part of it is because I've had so much fun with other people that I've had fun alone by myself. And that's not to say that I can't have that in Classic either. Sometimes I just want to fish in Classic. And it's also very grindy, but you know what? I love fishing in Classic. I love enchanting. I love doing my own profession at my own pace, and I'm having fun. I'm having fun doing stuff like that because it's so nice and pleasant that I am allowed to do that. And also, when I see someone in chat say, looking for group Shadowfang keep Razorfang down, or looking for healer for BFD, I know I can just say, hey, hit me up, and then we can just go there and we can have an adventure, and it'll be very funny or very cool or very quirky, or sometimes we'll die a ton. Somebody will get mad, or maybe some people will be like, holy shit, that was so much fun, just dying. And it's awesome. I don't know, I can't explain it to you. Maybe I just sound like a weirdo trying to tell you why I love this old decrepit game that's clearly flawed, but I like it because it has some of those flaws. Those flaws may seem like imperfect parts of the game, but you have something like LFG, which makes it so much easier to look for a group. You don't have to ask anyone anymore. You just click a button and then you're there. You are part of a raid, or you're part of a dungeon immediately. You don't have to ask anyone. You don't have to communicate with anyone. You're just there. You see that as more convenient, because clearly it's way more inconvenient to wait for people to get to the dungeon, or having to spend a whole hour trying to look for a healer or a tank for the dungeon run. Yeah, you're right. It is very inconvenient, but you get to interact, you get to talk to people, you get to be part of a guild that actually talks to you, and you actually make some friends along the way. And thanks to Discord, you can actually talk to them, send messages, and send images, videos, and stuff like that. It's so much easier to like communicate with these people now. Whereas in retail, you don't have any of those connections. It is so empty. I think it's best how I described it last night when I was streaming. Retail version of World of Warcraft is a lot like candy without any sort of flavor, but the same kind of dopamine effect, you know? It's very addicting, gives you high energy, looks very pretty, honestly, but really doesn't have flavor at all, honestly. Meanwhile, we got World of Warcraft Classic, which is more like junk food. It's very unhealthy for you, and sometimes it can really cause some headaches or maybe even clogged arteries. I don't know where I'm going with this analogy, but what I'm saying is it might not be the best thing for you, but damn, it's tasty. It's damn fine and way more filling. But I guess that's just what I had to say. I think everybody's already made a rant about Classic versus retail, so this was unnecessary. But hey, it's a queue, and I talk about whatever the fuck I want because it's my channel. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. You can tell me how much of an idiot I am for wearing a bow, or how you think I'm probably transsexual, or maybe I'm a trap. Sure, say that, whatever. But I'm more interested in your thoughts, what you actually think about the game, if you even play the game, or if any of you are even interested in playing WoW. Like, I know some of you don't really like it, or you've never even tried World of Warcraft, so let me know if you ever want to play, because I am currently, what's my server again? Oh yeah, Mancrick. I'm in Mancrick, so if you ever want to stop by, play with me, you know, be a part of the guild, go ahead, hit me up. I'll be there. I'll be playing for a long time now, so. And I will also be streaming on Twitch. As you all know, my Twitch schedule is every odd day. That is, you know, like the 11th, the 13th, the 15th, etc. at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will always do a stream, and lately I have been doing a lot of World of Warcraft streams, and sometimes I do some creepy streams as well. Anyways, that's a cue. Let me know what you guys think. All right, I guess we're done with that part of the video, so let's get on with these questions, shall we? As mentioned before, guys, I have already answered these questions in a past queue that was just unreleased. Like I said, the subject matter of the queue was just calling someone out, but until they piss me off, I will not release that audio. But I will be releasing the questions that I answered in that queue. So if some of these seem a little outdated, or if I make a few context clues for the previous queue that I never released and it doesn't make sense, just keep that in mind, okay? So let's hand it over to Past Goose, who probably talked maybe a month or two ago. So hey, hand that on over. Hey, welcome to the part of the video of my analytics where my entire graph just fucking flatlines and goes crashes down. Yeah, it's a queue. If you don't know what a queue is, again, I just talk about what I want to talk about, and at the end, which is, hey, right now, I take your questions and I answer them. If you want to ask a question for a future video, a future queue, which I can't really tell you when, it's just whenever I feel lazy, just put a hashtag queue in the comments and then ask your question. So, let's get started with the first question, which is by Milk, and they ask, any advice before finding a job in the gaming industry? Any good entry-level positions that don't involve programming? Absolutely, it's QA testing. QA testing is a great entry point for video game stuff that doesn't really require programming. If you want to make video games, you have to learn programming, if that's what you mean. But if you want to just work in gaming, then yeah, QA testing is the way to go. Here's the thing though, QA is not necessarily the greatest video game job you could have. It's low pay, minimum wage, long hours with almost no benefits. So there's only been one QA job that I've had that had benefits, like healthcare and dental. That was awesome. That was awesome of them to give me that. But other than that, that was the exception. I've worked for like a few companies. I'm not going to say how many, and I'm also not going to say for who, because that's part of the contract. You can't really say much. But I will say that I had a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun. But you have to understand that getting into QA doesn't just mean playing video games non-stop and just being like, oh, I beat the level, whatever. Nobody's gonna know your name by the time you're done with that test. By the time you're done with the project, nobody's gonna know who you are. And if you were good at your job, nobody would even consider the fact that you had a job in that fucking project. It's only until that they find a few glitches, a few bugs, as we would call them. It would be until then that people start getting down your throat and acknowledging who you are. And it's kind of shitty, to be honest. You know, you do your damnedest, you do your best, you work super hard, and then, oh no, here's a game-breaking bug. What were the developers thinking? Oh my god, they were so terrible. They probably didn't even play test this area. Of course we play tested. Just that you guys happen to have the same exact no life conditions that we have, and you happen to find this bug quicker than we did somehow. I mean, most of the time it's never the QA's fault. It's mostly the upper people fault. And I'm sure, like, upper people, I guess, like, programmers and the development team's fault. And I'm sure, like, the development team, anybody who works in programming and all that stuff with video games, they're gonna say, oh, it's never our fault, it's always the QA tester's fault. The reality is it's both our faults. Sometimes there's an error in communication. Sometimes we can't really replicate a bug the same way. You know, sometimes we have just 3 chances to try and replicate a bug, and with those 3 chances, if we can't replicate it, we're just gonna say, okay, it's not that important. It's almost impossible to replicate. Let's just forget about it, right? Unless it's a game-breaking bug, which there's more steps to that. But like otherwise, if it's benign, it's like you know, we can't be focused on that right now. We got to focus on the more game-breaking bugs. The game's coming out in like 5 days. We really have to like crunch time this shit, and it's only until then that when somebody finds that bug that we couldn't find, oh my god, you guys suck and everything like that. But hey, if you like logic puzzles, if you like having real life puzzles with video games, if you like breaking games, if you like finding out what makes a video game tick and what exactly it is that deconstructs it all and how to reconstruct it back, and you love all that stuff and you like the camaraderie of like being around gamers and stuff like that, then you, my friend, have a perfect mindset for QA testing. But if you can't handle the long hours for no benefits, for little pay, and nobody gives a shit about you, then you're probably not gonna like it. I loved it. I love QA testing. I absolutely do. By the way, I'm looking for a job, so if anybody fucking has a QA testing job for any video game, as long as you pay me, I'll do it. I'm not gonna do this shit for free, all right? Pay me, motherfuckers. Anyways, yeah, I loved it. I love doing it. it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I felt like a video game detective. I know that's fucking gay. That's the dumbest shit you could ever say, but I thought it was super fun. I really thought it was just awesome, an awesome time. But anyways, hopefully that answers your question. Milk, or yeah, that's your name. All right, thanks for the question. Next question is by Uberbus Dubs. He asked, what did you think of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Did you watch the Avengers Endgame? Yes, I did watch it all, and most of the Cinematic Universe anyways. I thought it was an interesting experience, and I'm hoping nobody else does it ever again, because Marvel has it in spades. Like, nobody else can do it as well as Marvel. Or maybe it's not that they do it well, it's that they've already established it with a clear, concise plan. And you know, ever since the first Avengers movie, man, they've been skyrocketing. Like, they knew exactly how to branch out of that Avengers movie, right? And they've been making better movies, better directors, better writers, all that stuff. But honestly, when other companies try to attempt the same shit, like, you know, Disney with Star Wars or Universal Studios with the Dark Cinematic Universe, it's never as good. It's never as great. It's just subpar. And it's hokey. Like, it's shit. I don't know. Like, I was talking about this with my girlfriend the other day, actually. I would have loved a Dark Cinematic Universe. Like, I mean, you know, the old classic Universal Studios pictures just being remade, and like, oh shit, here comes the Swamp Thing movie 2020, here comes Frankenstein the movie 2022, here comes a fucking better Mummy movie, a better Jekyll and Hyde movie, a werewolf movie, like, oh my god, Dracula movie, dude. That would have been Invisible Man, right? It would have been all super cool. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. The first Mummy movie tanked, and ever since then, they just never wanted to try. And it's a sad, sad thing, because they really had a good idea, but executed badly, and executed for the wrong reasons. They just wanted to compete against the Marvel. I don't even think their intention was to compete. I think their intention was just the money. I don't think they had a strategy. I don't think they had a plan. I don't think they knew what they were doing. I think they thought, let's just make a bunch of movies, remake our old ass movies, and then, you know, have them be connected somehow or whatever. Oh boy, and then it just all fell apart. But again, I would have loved it. I love the old classics. I love the werewolf, I love the Invisible Man, I love Frankenstein, all that stuff. Good god, I love them all so much. Swamp Thing is my favorite thing ever. But they just fucked it up, man. But yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they did it right, everyone else is doing it wrong. I think the issue is that people want to get there fast. Like DC, for example. I love DC more so than I do Marvel, but they wanted to just get there fast as possible because Avengers already happened. Avengers already did their 2 movies, and they wanted to do their own Justice League thing, but they were too impatient. They didn't want to build up, you know, Wonder Woman. Okay, let's say we got Wonder Woman, we got Superman, everybody knows Batman, sure, Ben Affleck, whatever, just get in there. And then here comes the Flash, here comes Aquaman, here comes Cyborg. It's like so stupid, man. They were not patient about it at all. And that was their ultimate downfall. I mean, their ultimate downfall was trying to compete against Marvel toe to toe. I mean, that's never going to happen. They're both different companies. They're both different comics. Whatever. But anyways, thank you for your question. Man, I would have loved the Dark Cinematic Universe. I can't get over that. That would have been so fucking cool if they did it right. They didn't, though. Stupid idiots. God damn it. All right. Thank you for the question. Next question is by, I don't know how to pronounce your name, actually. Joao Paulo Silva. Hopefully I said it right. Anyway, he asked, collab with Pyrocynical? Yes. I'm up for it. Whenever. Somebody contact him. Spam him. Just ask him to do it. I don't know what the fuck we do. I don't know. I'll do it. Why not? Somebody get Leafy, actually. I'll make fun of a 10-year-old with him. Fuck it. At this point, I'll do whatever it takes to get money. Fuck it. That's not the best thing to say, especially after the topic I just talked about. No. Yeah, I'll do whatever. Sure. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck. What the fuck are we gonna do? What does he even do? I think he drank Bella Delphine's bath water. I think that happened. That was kind of sexy. Let's do it together. Let's make macaroni out of it, like Ross Donovan suggested. Let's just do that. Fuck it. Yeah, sure, we'll do it. Thank you so much for your question. All right, finally, last question of the day. Actually, I don't even know who sent it. God damn it! Now I gotta look it up. All right, last question of the day. It's a very complicated question. I'm only saying this because I'm trying to find the goddamn. All right, here it is. It's by Super Nintendo Nerd. He asked, "What would you say is the best part of being in the video game industry?" That is such a difficult question because of all the drama that's happening around, you know, people who are in the video game industry. You know, you always hear about sexual harassment. You know, that happened with Riot Games. I think that happened with the last Q I made. You always hear about toxicity within the video game environment. You always hear about, you know, QA testing is not even like that great either. You get low pay for long hours. Probably the same with developers. They get pretty good pay for long hours, but like they crunch harder than I think QA testers, so I'll give them that. But other than that, I don't know exactly. I mean, it's not a fucking hellscape. Like it's obviously fun for those who are passionate about it, but to say what the fun part, like what the best part of being in the video game industry is, I guess it would have to be the selling of your video game. You know, knowing that you made a product that everyone will enjoy and everyone can respect. You know, as long as you tried your hardest to make a product that everyone will love, then I think you can walk out of the gaming industry knowing that you did something great, you know? Because by the end of the day, we're all working in the entertainment industry, and the entertainment industry is a thankless industry. You know, we always get these fans, these, you know, it's huge paychecks. We got all this fame and all that stuff, but nobody ever thanks the little guy. You know, we always thank Angelina Jolie, we always thank Brad Pitt, we always thank all the big stars that are all over the news and stuff, but we never thank the cameraman, we never thank the editor, we never thank the man who is behind the lighting or the visual effects or the sound effects or anything like that. It's a thankless job, and it's only for the people up front. They are the ones who always get the limelight. But knowing that you were part of it, knowing that you made this entire thing possible, that is satisfying. That is beautiful to know. And maybe you don't agree. Maybe you want something else out of this. Maybe you don't want just that. Maybe you want more pay. Maybe you want, I don't know, more people to notice you or equal rights or stuff like that. And you can totally fight for that. But in my opinion, when I make videos, for example, I consider myself part of the entertainment industry, even if I I'm not working YouTube anymore and I'm gonna do my dream as an author or a screenwriter as I've always wanted to. Even when I'm done with YouTube, I'll know that not many people will know who I am because I'm a writer. Nobody really knows writers unless you're eccentric, like fucking, I don't know, that chick who made Harry Potter, totally forgot her name, J.K. Rowling, or George R.R. Martin, or stuff like that. You know, people will never thank you. Or Guillermo del Toro, who's also a pretty popular director and screenwriter. You know, people won't notice you in that kind of job. But I do it because I know people like it, and I like to entertain people, and I like to be part of that industry, and I like to do whatever I can to just make the project whole, because I love the idea that so many people work to make one little thing. And that's my personal take on it. Y'all can have a different opinion. I get it, but hey, that was a Q. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you everyone who subscribed, and thanks for well, allowing me to reach over 100,000 subscribers. Seriously, this has been a great year. Unfortunately, due to money issues and a lot of hospital bills coming in, I don't know if I could be doing this as much as I want to anymore. So hey, who knows, maybe I'll get 1 million views in one video, and maybe I can actually get some recognition around here, and I don't know, stick around for YouTube. So who knows. Anyways, thank you all so very much for watching. I love you guys so very, very much. Thank you for joining in. Goodbye.